The Mount Rushmore conversation is always a very fun conversation to have, if you ask me, just among different things. It could be movies, TV shows, music, food, just you can make a Mount Rushmore of anything. But what is the WWE Mount Rushmore? Well, I'm going to give you the 4 superstars that I believe belong and are on the WWE Mount Rushmore. Now, before I give you my 4, I'm not necessarily saying these are some of my favorite superstars, but I gotta be unbiased here. Like, when I think of Mount Rushmore superstars, you gotta think impact, you gotta think of what they meant for the business, you gotta think of the matches, the promo, the character work, like, the entire package. All the above has to really go into it, so unbiased aside, these are my literal 4 Mount Rushmore WWE superstars of all time. Of course, though, before we start, you already know the deal. Please make sure to subscribe, like, share, comment below, and turn on all notifications to be updated with all pro wrestling content right here on this YouTube channel, and to be updated when we go live every single Sunday for the No Name Wrestling Podcast. Every Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time Zone. We do allow the viewers and subscribers to come on from time to time to chat, debate, and engage with us. So if you want to be a part of some stuff like that, you got to make sure you subscribe right here and check out for more content. Here we go. This is my WWE Mount Rushmore, the first superstar we're going to talk about, and you're going to have to hear me out because I know this is going to be very unpopular to hear, and some people aren't going to want to put this man up there for obvious reasons, but I got to be unbiased. Real talk. Hulk Hogan is on here, y'all. I'm sorry, but Hulk Hogan is on the WWE Mount Rushmore. Now, don't get me wrong, Hulk Hogan is not one of my personal favorites of all time, but being unbiased, he is 100% on the WWE Mount Rushmore. His impact is just too important. Without the Hulkamania era, where does WWE go? They probably don't even succeed the way they needed to push through the doors and knock down the barriers they needed to at that particular time frame without Hulk Hogan being the leader of the ship. Hulk Hogan also had crazy charisma. His character work was off the charts. He had a crazy connection with the audience. He was the biggest wrestler in the world at one point. He was the first wrestler to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated at a time that they weren't even covering WWE or wrestling in general as a sport. Hulk Hogan was bigger than WWE. He was bigger than wrestling, bro. Like, Hulk Hogan just took over everything that needed to happen for wrestling at that time frame to be the guy of the centerpiece that WWE really needed to push, to where they needed to go, to the heights that, Vince McMahon envisioned that they were going to reach. And I hate to be that guy to say it too, but Hulk Hogan has had good matches in wrestling too, man. He's had some good matches. He's been a part of some big monumental moments and big matches as well. Now, I get his moveset isn't the flashiest, but to be honest, I mean, this was the 80s we're talking about. You didn't really have to do the most to be over or put on the best matches at that particular time frame. Bro, all people really cared about from Hulk Hogan at the end of the day was for him to have his great character work, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, come out the ring, sell, make the bad guy look dominant, and make that comeback at the end where he hawks up, hits him with the punches, boot, leg drop, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Pose in the middle of the ring, brother. That's all they cared about back then, bro. Like, that's what worked. And that's all Hulk Hogan needed to do to be over. But you think about the big moments and matches. I mean, WrestleMania 1, teaming up with Mr. T to face Paul Orndorff and Roddy Piper, that was big. That was huge. That meant something. Hogan vs. Andre is still one of the biggest matches in wrestling history. May not have been the best in-ring match, but box office-wise, build-wise, story-wise, it's one of the biggest ever. Hogan vs. Macho Man, bro, the Mega Power storyline is still one of the greatest WWE storylines they've ever done, still to this day. Hogan vs. Warrior, WrestleMania 6, the Ultimate Challenge, title versus title, bro. Like, this is back when the Intercontinental Championship actually, felt very important. And this was like, they said, the stepping stone championship to where, like, if you won the Intercontinental Championship, that pretty much said that you were kind of guaranteed to be the world champion at some point. And this was babyface versus babyface. They didn't really do that back then in these days either, bro. Like, the Ultimate Challenge, that was a big monumental thing. And that was a great match. That's one of the top 10 greatest WrestleMania main events of all time. I'll stand on that. I will die on that hill. Hulk Hogan vs. Ultimate Warrior is a very, very good match. Surprisingly for the two guys that were in that match. I mean, Hogan vs. Rock, WrestleMania 18, maybe the greatest WrestleMania match of all time still to this day, bro. The crowd interaction, the build, the 2 stars in the match, bro. Like, I know it sucks to kind of give Hulk Hogan the credit, but I mean, listen, man, he was impactful and he meant a lot to wrestling. He was also a cancer to wrestling. He did some bad for wrestling too. He definitely did some bad for wrestling too, man, but we're talking just WWE-wise, not even to mention the stuff he did for WCW, bro. Like, this man had 2 legendary runs in 2 different companies, bro. He did him as a babyface, and he did it as a heel, too. Like, this man thrived as one of the biggest babyfaces and one of the biggest heels of all time with the immortal Hulk Hogan and Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Like, Hulk Hogan was very good at his job. Hogan, unfortunately, was just good at what he did, bro. He was very good at his job, whether he was the babyface or the heel, whether he was in WWE or WCW. He was very good at what he did, and he was very good at drawing money, and his impact is just very, very strong. It's hard to deny. So, yes, Hulk Hogan, to me, is on the WWE Mount Rushmore. Who else is on my WWE Mount Rushmore? Gotta have The Undertaker on here. Greatest character in WWE history by far. The dedication is unmatched. When you talk about character work, dedication, Undertaker is head and shoulders above everybody. Whether it was the Phenom Undertaker in the early 90s, mid 90s, and then switching into the Ministry of Darkness Undertaker, and then dropping the whole Dead Man gimmick and going into the American Badass, where he comes out in the biker gimmick with the motorcycle and the bandanas and stuff, and then dropping that gimmick to go back into the Phenom character for the last, years of his career. The longevity as well, 30 plus year career. We know as Undertaker got older, it was a little bit harder to watch him in the ring because he looked old and his body was physically giving out on him. But even despite that, it was still the Undertaker at the end of the day. Like, Undertaker's also one of the very few superstars that honestly was bigger than the World Championship. He never needed the World title to feel relevant or important on the roster. He had World Championship runs here and there, but Undertaker never really needed the World title. He thrived just fine without it. Honestly, he thrived better chasing the championship or without the championship than having the championship. The star power there, the impact is there, and then of course the streak. The WrestleMania streak, bro. The streak got so big at one point, you can even argue the streak matches were just as big as the main event world title matches, or bigger than those matches at some point. Like, if you weren't fighting for a world title at WrestleMania, the streak match was right there, and that was just as important. The match quality is endless as well. He's had so many great matches through pretty much every decade you could think of that he was around in WWE. Countless of great matches with many different superstars like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Mick Foley, Kurt Angle, Rock, Austin, Triple H, and Randy Orton, Batista, Edge, and CM Punk. Just countless of great people, countless of great matches with so many top talent, bro. Undertaker was just a special entity, bro. Like, at some point, he truly made us believe in his gimmick. At some point when you watch wrestling, depending on when you started watching, you believed he was really The Undertaker. You felt like he wasn't like a human being, even though that sounds stupid and crazy. Like, you felt he was a little off, like he wasn't like any ordinary person. Like, you really felt like what you saw on TV was really him. So Undertaker and Hulk Hogan definitely got to be on the Mount Rushmore of WWE superstars. And now we got 2 spots left. Well, who was the third superstar I'm going to talk about? How can you have a WWE Mount Rushmore without the Texas Rattlesnake Stone Cold Steve Austin? He is a must. Easily the most important superstar to WWE's history. Why? Because he was the guy that got so popular it helped propel WWE to win the Monday Night Wars, to win the Attitude Era, bro. Like, let's not forget, WWE was fighting for survival around those time frames. Like, business was not as great for WWE in that particular time frame. And they got lightning in a bottle when they got a guy named Stone Cold Steve Austin in the palm of their hands. And my gosh, when that guy became so popular as he did, they strapped the rocket to his back and pushed him all the way to the moon and never looked back. You talk about presentation, he had it. The character work, of course he had it, bro. The popularity, Stone Cold Steve Austin is the most popular superstar in WWE history, even still to this day. The Austin 316 shirt is still the highest grossing t-shirt in WWE's history. The matches is there. The moments are there. Now, granted, yes, Stone Cold Steve Austin's longevity isn't there due to his neck injuries and everything. His career was cut short back in 2003. But even in that short time frame from 1998 all the way to 2003, Stone Cold's impact is just unmatched, bro. Like, even though that's a 5-year time frame where Stone Cold was at the top, that 5 years, Stone Cold's impact meant so much to WWE, like, it literally propelled them to the heights where they really needed to get after the Hulk Hogan era. But if you had a 5-year peak where you had elite impact on top of having good matches, good promo segments, great character work, being one of the most important superstars of a certain era, like where you were the vocal point, you gotta be on the Mount Rushmore. Now, even though Rock also had the same peak and he was around, The Rock just never had the type of impact and popularity that Stone Cold had, where it just felt as important. Now, The Rock is the biggest superstar in wrestling history when you count his accolades of Hollywood and wrestling. He's the biggest star, the most recognizable name in WWE history, right? But going back to the Attitude Era, Rock was a major star. He was right there, but he always felt number 2 right behind Stone Cold Steve Austin. So that's why he doesn't really get the nod over guys like Austin and others. Well, who will that 4th spot go to? We got Hogan, we got Taker, we got Austin, 3 guys that I discussed. There was one more spot left on the Mount Rushmore, and that last spot to me goes to John Cena. John Cena, might I add you, is the only WWE superstar in history to literally get an introduction coming to the ring introduced as the greatest of all time. Despite whether you believe that or not, or you agree with that, he's the only guy to get that honor and privilege. So I think that speaks volumes and says a lot right there alone. John Cena was a guy who literally almost got fired because of ruthless aggression, and then he became the Doctor of Thugonomics, and that gimmick really helped propel him up to his popularity, right? The Doctor of Thugonomics gimmick was just spectacular. But once John Cena stopped rapping, and he became all about hustle, loyalty, and respect, and rise above hate and never give up. And once he became like the PG Super Cena, that's when, he became very controversial and polarizing among the fans with the Let's Go Cena and Cena Sucks chants. But even despite all that, no matter how you felt about John Cena, whether you loved John Cena or you hated John Cena was one guy who just stood out differently to everybody, and he made you feel. He made you care. Whether you were booing him or cheering him, you cared whether you wanted to admit it or not. Like, you were invested and wanted to know what was going on with John Cena because you either really wanted him to win or you really wanted him to lose. And of course, you think of the longevity. I mean, John Cena for a decade was the top guy, the face of the company, and he did it, might I add you, without switching up who he was even once. And that honestly may never happen again. And when I say the top guy, we're talking about the face of the WWE. Not everybody can get that title labeled the face of the WWE, right? John Cena, once he became the guy, once he became the man, never once switched up or changed who he was. For an entire decade, consistently stayed the same, but managed to always be the biggest star and the most important and the most relevant superstar in the company. I don't know if some people can really fathom of like how hard that really is to never change who you are for a whole decade when you're at the top of the echelon, because wrestling is sometimes always about reinventing yourself, coming up with a new character. Reinvention, man, is very important actually in wrestling. And for John Cena, once he became the top guy, Super Cena, never once changed who he was. But ironically, for John Cena, he never really had to. And that's also very crazy and unique to say, despite whether people wanted him to turn heel or not. Now, the heel turn would have been cool to see. They had opportunities to pull that trigger and make it happen, but you look back, okay, yes, it would have been cool to see John Cena turn heel, but he never really needed it, though. And then you add on that on top of everything that he's done. I mean, his accomplishments, his 16 world titles, multiple Royal Rumbles, WrestleMania main events. He's pretty much beaten all the top guys you could think of. The match quality, even despite whether people were saying like the 5 Move to Doom where John Cena couldn't wrestle or being carried, John Cena has had countless of great matches with many superstars in the ring with many different styles, from Batista to Edge, Orton, Rock, CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, JBL, you name them. John Cena, honestly, from about 2005 all the way up to, you could say, 2017, if I'm being honest, that 12-year range right there, you could say John Cena legit had a match of the year contender for WWE each year. And then when we talk about impact, I mean, John Cena's got more Make-A-Wish grants than any celebrity in history. We're not even talking about just in wrestling. Any celebrity in history. More Make-A-Wish grants than anybody, bro. I think that speaks volumes about how impactful John Cena was to an entire generation and how inspired people were by this man and wanted to be just like him. That right there would be my WWE Mount Rushmore of all time. Now, yes, you can only have 4 slots, so I know I left off some other great superstars like The Rock, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Randy Orton, Triple H, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar. There are a lot of great superstars throughout WWE's history, but when you only got 4 spots, you're going to have to cut some people off. And I feel like the 4 superstars I named had the most impact, had the best overall careers. They had just everything you could ask for with character work, match quality, importance. Like, the 4 superstars I named, I think have had the best overall WWE careers and are the Mount Rushmore of WWE superstars. Of course, this is all just opinionated, right? Some of y'all are going to strongly agree and some of y'all are going to strongly disagree, and that is totally fine. If you think there's a superstar or maybe superstars I snubbed that should be on the WWE Mount Rushmore wholeheartedly, in your opinion, let me know in the comment section below. If you want to check out more wrestling content on this channel, click the video right here. If you want to check out the No Name Wrestling Podcast, you can click the playlist right here.